Welcome to another edition of College Football Showdown, here presented by Prime Sports World. I am your host, Israel Rivera, with my man Christian Simpson. Here out in them New York streets. Please like, share, subscribe here at the podcast from Prime Sports World, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Boy, you act like I don't know you on that subway, boy. Hey,
Look,
hey, hey.
man. Look, man. Look. I'm home and I'm in my natural habitat. I'm waiting on you, Izzy. I'm
You
waiting
waiting
on
on
you.
me? We gonna speed right through this. Hey, please like, share, subscribe to the podcast, and follow Christian at the Daily Blitz blog as he previews his games for tomorrow. We'll get to that later on. Like us on all streaming platforms where podcasts can be heard, and that's it. We got a lot to talk about, Christian. We took
Yes, we
last
do.
week off. There's a little hiatus for me, but we back now.
Right.
Here for week 9, and I can't wait to talk about some of these games. We got some big games come up, including a big one tonight, which includes for the P5 schools, Boise and UNLV. Potential winner of that is probably going to get into the college football playoff when it's all said and done.
That's a big game, man. Ashton Jency, I think he's one of the three best players in college football. I mean, I could watch this kid take the ball and run in between the tackles outside. He does whatever he can to put his team in the right position to win football games.
Like we all say, he's a grown ass man
That's
playing
a
amongst
grown ass
boys.
man. Yes, he is.
Yes. Yes, and he does it in so many ways too. We'll get into that later on. But anyways, week 8 headlines, Christian. You know how we all start the show. We preview week 8. I don't have a headline for week 8. I could say this though, how the mighty have fallen, because Alabama, this is the first time in a very long time that we've seen them drop 2 games in the season since the Nick Saban era. Now it's the Caleb DeBoer era, but still.
Yeah, they have some issues defensively. They're not as disciplined as they were under Saban, like they are with the Boar. You just see a lot of mental lapses, guys not being where they need to be, and they did a pretty good job of keeping Tennessee once again under 30 points. And you got to give Tennessee a lot of credit. This is a huge win for them. This propels them into playoff territory. That's the way I look at it. I mean, defenses are keeping Milrow in the pocket, and they're saying, "Look, Jalen's going to beat us with his arm."
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that I wanted to start out first with number 5 Georgia beating Texas, number 1 Texas. Carson Beck, 30-15. This one was just Georgia came out and showed why they're probably the best team in the nation, in my opinion. With the one slip up against Alabama, I think they have the best defense in the nation. Carson Beck, not that great of a game, obviously. 23 of 41, 3 interceptions, 175 yards. But Travis Etienne, 19. Trevor Etienne, 19 carries, 87 yards, 3 touchdowns. Um, he was quite amazing. But that defense is where they showed out against Texas, holding that offense to only 15 second half points, where they really couldn't do anything in the first half from the onset.
Yeah, and remember, Izzy, I called this game last week with my man Brian Snow for Snowman Multimedia Group. Huge shout out to Brian and the gang there. Told him all about you. So yeah, look,
Absolutely,
I'm always plug you. But
plug me.
Georgia, listen, Georgia went back to the basics. They ran the football. They won the line of scrimmage, and I like how Kirby didn't give up on Carson Beck. Carson was struggling, turning the ball over left and right, but he put those plays behind him. And Texas, Texas got bullied. Texas, they were being the bullies early on. How they were beating up on teams. That's exactly what they did to. That's exactly what Georgia did to Texas. What do I always say? The bully don't like to get bullied.
Nope, the bully don't like to get bullied, and I mean they came out hard. I mean Jalen Walker looked like a man amongst boys last week with 3 sacks, 8 tackles, 3 sacks against Texas last week from the linebacker position. But yeah, Georgia was out there, and they were really playing great defense in the back end. And a lot of those guys from Georgia were just playing excellent defense. Michael Williams, you always talk about Michael Williams. He had 2 sacks as well in this game. So I mean, they were just bringing it to him, like you said. The bully don't like to get bullied, and that's basically what it is. And then we talked a little bit about Tennessee beating Alabama. Give me your take on that game. I know you briefly talked about it with Jalen
Yeah,
Milrow,
yeah. I mean,
being held. Okay.
teams nowadays they're keeping Milrow in the pocket. They're making him a passer, and this Alabama defense doesn't scare me like it used to under Nick Saban, like it is with Kalen DeBoer. That's just the fact of the matter, right there. This is a huge win for Tennessee. You know, Knoxville is a tough place to go and get a win, but it seems like Tennessee's offense has really been kept in check as well because they've been held under 30 points ever since they entered conference play. Look at before conference
Mhm.
play. They're scoring 30. Some games they were scoring 70. Remember? Now,
Yeah, absolutely.
but this is a huge win, and this puts Alabama in a little bit of a hole right now. I mean, it looked like they were kind of back on the right path after um, after beating Georgia, but they didn't look good in the second half against Georgia. They flat out dropped the ball against Vanderbilt, and they didn't look all that good against South Carolina. And then look, they run into a brick wall in Knoxville.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the first time I can't even remember the last time they had 2 losses. Other
2020, 2022. I know they did.
was it 2022? What
Yeah.
they lose? They lost a regular season and then lost the SEC championship game.
No, they
What was it?
lost. They
Two regular
lost.
season games.
They lost to Tennessee. That was the
Okay, that was
That
the.
was the Jalen Hyatt game.
There you go.
And
Okay.
then they lost to LSU at Death Valley.
Jaden Daniels got his revenge, right?
Right. Exactly.
Right. That's okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I remember that. Okay, no, that was the first meeting that Jaden Daniels was in LSU. I remember that game. I was watching that. So yeah, no, you're right. 2022. But I mean, didn't Alabama? If I'm not mistaken, Alabama did they make? Did they make? They didn't make the playoff that year, did they?
No, and I remember Nick Saban pleading why they should make the playoff. I'm like, yo, you have 2 losses. Why would you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
come
Okay,
on, man.
exactly. It just feels like these 2 losses this year because they lost to Vandy and then they lost to Tennessee. When Tennessee didn't look so hot the week before, it just seems like it's worse than that year. If I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't know, it just seems worse. It just seems worse. Anyways, moving forward, number 22 beating number 24, Michigan. Big win for Illinois. Not a lot of offense in this game, especially on the Illinois side. Luke Altmaier only 80 yards, 1 touchdown, and he had the rushing touchdown as well. But Illinois, he had 1 passing, 1 rushing touchdown. Illinois seems to just have a game plan against teams like this, like especially against Michigan. They mucked it up, played good, great defense. I love the uniforms, by the way. TJ don't like the uniform. TJ didn't like the uniforms. I love the uniforms, but they play great defense across the board for the University of Illinois, and got the W against Michigan at home.
yeah, they did. Michigan, they're such in disarray. They don't scare me like they did last year. They have horrible quarterback play. And the thing about Illinois is nothing really stands out to you. They're not a flashy team.
No,
It's all substance with them. And they run downhill, they'll run the ball at you, they'll pound
yep.
the rock,
Hard
they'll
hat
run
lunch pail.
yeah, they'll play the line of scrimmage, and Luke Altmaier, he does what he has to do, but that's honestly that's a Coach Bielma quality, being able to ugly games up and win physical football games.
Yeah, no, exactly. They muck it up. They play physical defense. And yeah, they take the identity of their coach. It's Brett Bielema, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, from the university, we saw his teams at the University of Wisconsin. I mean, they were hard nosed teams, and so he's taking that same blueprint and brought it over to Illinois, and it's working. Then the last headline we got Indiana. Let me just ask you this question: how for real is Indiana this year? As they dominated Nebraska 56-7 at
Yeah.
home. They have a quarterback who is I think he's special in my opinion. I think he's one of the dark horses in Curtis Rourke. But this Indiana team, man, they 7-0, 4-0 in conference play, and to dominate a Nebraska team who this is not a bad this is not the Nebraska teams of old. It's not the bad Nebraska teams. This is a decent Nebraska team. Although I know Dylan Raiola, 28 of 44, he's a freshman, 234 yards, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. That killed them a lot. But I mean, this Indiana team continues to impress.
Yeah, they really do because, again, they're like Illinois in a way. They stick with their identity, run the football, use play action, do it defensively. And Kurt Signetti, he's looking like a coach of the year candidate, is he? I
Oh
mean, what
yeah,
he's done with this program, he have my vote right now.
absolutely. In Indiana, I've never seen an Indiana team play this well, like ever. I
Ever.
gotta ever. I mean, I think I gotta go back to the Antoine Randall L days.
Oh wow,
So
you really took it back.
I got to go back to those. That's when they were this good, I think, because
Yeah.
Antoine Randall was taking them to the bowl games, man. And so I got to take it back to that, and that's over 20 years ago. So
Exactly.
it's crazy how things change. But yeah, Indiana looks like a real player, and they got a couple big games coming up here. In a couple weeks here. But we're
They
moving on
do.
to the top 25. Oregon, they move up a slot in the number one slot. Georgia moves right back in to the top three slot at number two. Penn State stays at number three. Ohio State stays at number four, especially after that loss from Oregon the previous week. And then Texas falls down to number five, still in the top five. Just because I mean we're not going to hold that. Nobody's going to hold that L against Georgia. You lose to Georgia, the one of the best defenses in the nation. And then outside looking in at number six, we got Miami. We got Tennessee moving up to 7, 8 LSU, 9 Clemson, who's sneaky good this year, in my opinion, a big player in the ACC. And then round out the top 10 is Iowa State. And then at number 11, we got BYU, 12 Notre Dame, 13 Indiana, and at number 14, we got Texas A&M. And then Alabama, big shocker, drops all the way down to 15 as their college football playoff hopes are pretty much put to bed with that loss last week. And then we got number 16, Kansas State, 17, Boise State, who's playing tonight against UNLV, 18, Ole Miss, 19, Pittsburgh, who blew out Syracuse on Thursday night. Godly, Kyle McCord threw 5 interceptions in that game. Terrible.
Terrible.
Anyways, and then number
Horrible.
terrible, horrible. And then number 20, we got Illinois moving up 2 slots. At 21, we got Missouri. 22 is SMU, and then we got the Army and Navy here at 23 and 24. Navy plays a big game against Notre Dame this week. Two top 25 teams.
Yeah,
But
is he they're
military
actually gonna be
academies.
yeah, they're actually gonna be playing by me. I literally live like 10 minutes away from MetLife. So yeah. And I thought
It's a big thing.
I thought game day was actually gonna come here, but they didn't. They elected to go to Indiana for Coach Corso and Pat McAfee.
It's a great thing for college football when the academies
Are
are in
doing
the
well.
top 25.
I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah, it's excellent for college football when Army and Navy and even like Air Force. If sometimes they have these good years. This is the down year for Air Force, but when you see the academies in the top 25, it's a good because those Navy used to be. You think of Navy, you think of Roger Staubach, you think of national championships back in the day. Now these days they don't. It's not happening. Just because of how college football has changed, but it's a good thing, a good sign to see that. And then around the top 25, we got Vanderbilt as they got a big game, and we're getting into it with Week 9 games to watch here, Christian. And we're gonna do a little quick preview because they play in about a half hour. Number 17, Boise State. We'll start with them tonight, going up against UNLV. I brought up that this is a big game because this is a P5 game. Whoever probably wins this game is probably the number one P5 school. to get into the college football playoff this season. So, because right now I think it's Boise State has that automatic big so far. So, who do you think wins this game? What are you looking for in this game?
Well, I think Boise State wins. You know, I want to see how UNLV, what they're gonna do against Ashton Genty, because this kid is the real deal. I mean, are they gonna sack the box, and are they gonna force Boise State to throw the ball? Because just kind of need him to kind of control things. You have the best offensive player in college football. And I think that's what's going to be the difference maker right there. I like Boise State.
I like Boise State too. I think I think Estudiantes is a guy. He's going to be very hard to contain. He'll actually play 4 quarters in this game because UNLV will keep scoring. I like the fact that Malik Williams has stepped in to that quarterback slot and he's played excellent quarterback play for UNLV. Ricky White the third is looking like one of the best wide receivers in the nation out of UNLV. He's a guy that Boise State definitely has to have their eye on if they're trying to contain UNLV at home in the Death Star. But yeah, give me Boise State. This is a big time game. I think Ashton Genty runs for over 200 yards and 3 to 4 touchdowns in this game. I like Boise State as well. And then next big game we got on the slate this weekend. This is a Saturday game. You got number 20 Illinois coming off that big win against Michigan, going into Eugene to face the number 1 team in the nation in the Oregon Ducks. How do you see this one flowing out?
Yeah, I previewed this one the other day. When I look at Illinois, again, they play their own style of football. They're physical, they're downhill, they want to run the ball, they want to dominate the line of scrimmage, they want to win in the trenches, and they're not a team that jumps out their box, and that's credit to Brett Bielema. Then where you have Oregon, and Oregon, they're not necessarily the team that was blazing quick offensively all those years ago. They're still good offensively. I just think they're more efficient when it comes to picking their spots. I'm watching Terrence Ferguson in this game. I think he's going to be the X factor for Oregon. Whereas I'm watching Pat Bryant for Illinois. He's a 6'3", 220-pound wide receiver. He's Luke Altmaier's go-to weapon. Illinois has to start fast in this game. I mean, they have to take that crowd out of the game, and they really have to come throwing the first punch. Could they do it? Yeah, but can they sustain consistency? That is where the question mark. That's where the question arises. I like Oregon in this one. I just think they have too much offensive firepower for Illinois.
Absolutely. I'm gonna agree with you. I don't agree with the spread, which is 22.5, but I do agree that Oregon does have a lot of offensive firepower that will withstand this defense. But I think this defense, if they can muck it up a little bit, they'll give themselves a shot. If like it's close going into the 4th quarter, I think this offense could possibly pound the rock a little bit, run the football against Oregon, have some success here. Next game we got on the slate, we got number 21 Missouri going into Tuscaloosa to face the number 15 Alabama Crimson Tide here. How do you see this one going out? I know that Alabama pretty much out of the college football playoff picture right now. They may be able to salvage it if they can win out. They have to win out the rest of the way, dominate the rest of the way. They could probably be the best two-loss team in the nation. But they got to show me against Missouri. How does this game go?
Yeah, well, 2 of the best wide receivers in the country are featured in this game.
Yes,
Luther
sir.
Burden the third and Ryan Williams. But I look at Missouri and which version of the Tigers shows up. That to me is the $1 million question. Because they were playing a little too loosely for my liking, and then they end up getting handled by Texas A&M. A couple weeks ago. And I mean, they were punched in the mouth badly. And then I think now, if you're Alabama, you have to treat every game as if it were a playoff game at this point. You can't lose. You can't afford to lose another game. While I think Missouri keeps us close, I think Alabama wins a close one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do think Alabama is gonna win a close one. I don't know, honestly, I don't even think it's gonna be that close. I've really been impressed with Missouri. You know, at least the last few games. Um, in terms of this matchup, I like Alabama at home. I think Ryan Williams. I think Jalen Milroe as well, being the athletic savant that he is. I think he's going to give Missouri some problems. But when I look at Missouri, 21-17 to Auburn. I know they blew out Massachusetts, but they lost that real bad game in Texas A&M where it just really wasn't close, 41-10. They had a double overtime game against Vanderbilt, and they barely scathed at home against BC. So it's a team that plays a little too dangerously for me on the edge against certain teams. You can't do that against Alabama. I think Bama comes out swinging hard, and they got to come back to reality. I mean, get back to where you were. You were excited. I mean, you had the world on your shoulders when you beat Georgia, and it's just Vanderbilt just sucked it all out of you. South Carolina showed you that you were penetrable. And then Tennessee just went for the knockout blow against you week after week after week right there after Georgia. So I think Bama needs to, get back to where it started. And I think that's, trying to get Jalen Milroe outside the pocket, trying to, get him rolling out, get him in favorable situations where he can use his legs, pick up yardage, big yardage, and also got to get, the running game going for that team. I think they're successful off of the play action when it comes down to everything. And then the next game we got on the slate, we got number 5 Texas versus number 25 Vanderbilt. Can Vanderbilt pull off another upset at home against the top 5 team this year?
I mean, it's possible. And any given Saturday, any given Sunday, any given Monday night, any given Thursday. But I just think Texas is leaps and bounds better than Alabama. And if I'm Texas, I know I'm coming into this game angry and teed off. I think Texas wins this one. They're gonna try and send a message.
Absolutely, I do think Texas wins this one. I think they send a message after losing last week to Georgia, and then we have a big game, real Big Ten game. And this is a game that my Notre Dame Fighting Irish are looking into here. As number 3 Penn State goes into Madison, Wisconsin to face the Badgers of Wisconsin, of the University of Wisconsin. How do you see this one playing out for these two teams?
Well, Penn State, this is a trap game for them. Camp Randall is never the easiest place to go and play in Wisconsin, and those fans are going to be into it. But Penn State knows they have a huge game coming up next week. I think these next 2 weeks are going to tell us a little bit more about the Penn State Nittany Lions. Me personally, look, what Tyler Warren is doing right now, I think he's the best tight end in college football. Harrison Wallace III, he's been serviceable on the perimeter, but it always comes back to these 2 running backs, Trent Allen and Nicholas Singleton. And Drew Allard, he's actually played pretty well this year. I like Penn State, but I think Wisconsin can give them a couple of problems.
Yeah, no, I do think Wisconsin gives them a couple of problems, man. I think, what they're going to have to do, Wisconsin. I mean, and they're playing really well. They blew out Purdue. They blew out Rutgers. They've literally in the last 3 games, the last 3 opponents have only scored 16 points, while they've scored a combined 100 and I think it's 106. I want to say 17 points. So they've combined 117 points while guys have only scored 15 points. Albeit against Northwestern, Rutgers, and Purdue, but still they're gonna need some of that firepower against Penn State. Definitely, the spread 6.5 points. I'll take the spread for Wisconsin in this one. I think Braden Lott is gonna have to play, have to make some throws in this game if they're gonna be successful in this game. So I think this is my upset of the week, Christian. So I got the Wisconsin Badgers beating Penn State this week. You see that upset of the week? We just gonna get to it. They're beating number 3 Penn State this week at home at Camp Randall. Book it. I'm taking the points for Wisconsin at 6.5, plus 6.5 for Wisconsin. Then I lead to the game of the week for us. Number 8 LSU versus number 14 Texas A&M. Christian, how do you see this one playing out?
Izzy, you know what's coming, baby.
Yes,
Izzy,
I know what's
it's
coming.
that
Yes,
time.
sir.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Shameless
Shameless
plug
plug
number
number
one,
1.
baby. Look,
Yes, sir.
I've been so impressed with both of these teams. I didn't know what to expect from LSU this year. I remember covering their first game against USC, and I'm thinking,
Yes.
ooh, it could be a long year, but they battled, they won, and what showed me what type of team they really were was when they played South Carolina, backs against the
Yes.
wall. You know, that quarterback, he's running left and right um, and through that LSU defense, and LSU was able to come back. Look, Garrett
Lenora
Nussmeier's,
Sellers. Lenora
yeah,
Sellers, right?
bingo. Reminds
Yes.
me a little bit of David Garrard. Um, Garrett Nussmeier is him. He's himself. He doesn't have to try and be like Jaden Daniels. Has a really good wide receiver who I think is pretty underrated in Kyron Lacey. And
Yes.
defensively, they're getting better. I mean, the game against Ole Miss, they handled their business there. To me, that is what saved their playoff chances, man. Just going into Arkansas and winning that game against the Razorbacks. And you look at Texas A&M, they're in the same boat
Yes, sir.
as LSU. Didn't know how they be, especially after how they lost to Notre Dame, but they've just been firing off win after win, and I still think Connor Wegman gives them the best chance to win this game. I preview this one tomorrow. Be on the lookout.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love what LSU has done. I mean, LSU's got the one loss, but to USC early on. Both teams got one loss, first games of the year, right? Notre Dame, beating Texas A&M in Texas and College Station. That was a big loss, and you could see, from that moment on, this team has really, uh, captivated after that loss. They really were motivated after that loss. They got a running back in Le'Veon Moss, who I absolutely think is a stud. And Marcel Reed, he was one of the best dual threat quarterbacks coming out of high school. He steadied the sheep until Connor Wigman was there, came back. But when it's all said and done, I do think LSU has a lot of firepower, especially they got a true freshman as their own in Caden Durham. We didn't mention that. He's a hell of a running back, nice compact style. But yeah, man, this Texas A&M team, their defense is playing great football. Torian York, one of the best linebackers in the nation, in my opinion. He's playing excellent football. So this Texas A&M defense is playing well, especially at home. Give me Texas A&M to win at home against LSU. But I do think, man, it's going to be a very good game. Garrett Nussmeier is, one of the dark horses, for the Heisman Trophy. So this is a big game for both teams, in my opinion. College football playoff, a spot is probably on the line in this game. So big game for both teams. And then also, you guys, like Christian said, if you guys before an hour before the game, we'll drop that article for Texas A&M. So you guys don't want to LSU and Texas A&M. So you guys don't want to miss that article. They'll drop that an hour before the game. You guys don't want to miss that. Anyways, going on to our Week 9 Heisman rankings. Still, I got Cam Ward at the top. Still, even that performance he had against Louisville was absolutely phenomenal last week. Aston Genty, obviously, he's doing stuff that hasn't been done in over 30-some years. Travis Hunter, still that man. I think he's the best overall football player in the nation. Dylan Gabriel moves into number 4. He was the dark horse 2 weeks ago. Now he moves into number 4. He's playing some of the best football at the quarterback position. He's actually moved up into, he's probably moved up in drafts, his draft stock. so far. I mean, we were talking about it's a 2-horse race with the quarterback position in terms of Cam Ward, Shador Sanders, and it was everybody else. Quinn Ewers, godly Jackson Dart. You got Carson Beck there, but now we got to throw Dylan Gabriel in there, and I got his name wrong anyways, but never mind. I'm not going to change it right now. And then at number 5, we got Kay Klubnik, who was the quarterback at Clemson. Forgot to put the position there. Was going a little too fast. But anyways, Kay Klubnik has been secretly good this season for the Clemson Tigers. I mean, at first I thought Kay Klubnik was, you know what I mean? Like I thought he was one of those 5-star guys that wasn't going to pan out. But man, this year, over 1,800 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and he's top 5 in QBR this year for the Clemson Tigers. And he's got Clemson, right there. I mean, he's got Clemson at in the top 10 this year so far. So, I mean, Kay Klubnik has played excellent football. He's playing up to his 5-star status, so far this year. And then my dark horse is Garrett Nussmeier, as we just mentioned him for LSU. So.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of this. I mean, Cam Ward has been playing unbelievable football. He does it with his legs. He does it with his arm. He knows how to move the pocket to either the left or the right. And he's just in such sync and such command with that offense. Can't wait to see what Miami does this year. Like, are they for real? Because they're another team I'm still really trying to figure out. But I can't disagree with any of this. Dylan Gabriel, he's such a crafty quarterback because the arm strength doesn't really impress you, but he knows how to put that football right on the spot.
Oh yeah, no, he's a lefty that can really just flat out play. He's played great at every place he's been to, UCF, Oklahoma, now Oregon. So yeah, Dylan Gabriel is a prime time. Like my man Dick Vitale says, Christian, he's a PT peer, baby. He's a PT peer. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's been the show. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast at College Football Showdown. Here, please like, share, subscribe at YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Go ahead and follow Christian. Subscribe to the website at thedailyblitz.blog. Make sure you don't miss his article for LSU and Texas A&M an hour before kickoff. And I am so privileged to always get those articles before you guys get to read them. So, anyways, Christian, thank you for that great content. Anyways, and then please make sure to follow us on all our streaming platforms as well. You guys don't miss that content from Prime Sports World. But anyways, Christian, happy Friday. We'll see you guys next week. We'll see you guys Monday on the Prime here. And before I get out of here, as I like to say, in case we missed you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh man, and he just threw it off the backboard for me to say my favorite phrase. Holla at your boy.
Holla at your boy, and peace out. See you guys next week.